Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from today. Hello, and welcome to today's session, proudly brought to you by Westpac's Ruby Connection. Today, we are talking all about retiring early. What an awesome topic to finalize the week with. My name is Meggie Palmer, and I'm the founder of a company called PepTalkHer, and we're on a mission to close the gender pay gap, help you get paid more and get promoted much quicker. And it is a pleasure to be partnering with Westpac for today's conversation about how can you retire early? How can you think about your savings and your investment journey now to set you up for success into the future? We've got a brilliant panel for you today, a wonderful conversation ahead. But before we kick things off, I'm going to hand over to the brilliant Julia from the Westpac Group to formally welcome you all today.
Thanks, Meggie. Welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. My name's Julia Da Silva. I work at the BT, which is part of the Westpac Group, as a senior portfolio manager, and I'm also part of the Ruby Connection team here at Westpac. Before we start today's session, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this beautiful land on which we're having this meeting today, wherever you may be joining us from. For me, this is the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. These sessions and the community that we're building through these events is going from strength to strength. And we thank you all for your support and welcome anyone new joining us today. For those that don't know, Ruby is an online community where we get to continue conversations about the issues that women are talking about, while building financial confidence across all generations and ultimately helping to pave the way for a stronger, better future for all women. Whether you're starting your financial journey, you're establishing a family, considering or actively investing, or potentially winding down to retirement, Ruby is a community that allows us to share and learn. I'm excited about this session today, and we get to hear about the journey of our three inspiring speakers towards financial independence and early or semi-retirement. Thank you again for your time today, and without further ado, I'd like to hand you back over to Meggie. Over to you, Meggie.
Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you for that warm welcome. And a big hello to everyone who is just joining us for today's session on retiring early. Please let myself and the panelists know in the chat where you are joining us from today. We would love to hear from you. And if you haven't joined one of the Westpac Ruby Connection sessions before, this is for you. We are here to support you in your financial journey and to answer any questions that may come up. So pop your questions into the chat. You can send them privately to me or pop them into the generic chat, and we will get to as many of those as we can. Today's session is short and sharp, 30 minutes. So don't worry, we're going to give you your time back to enjoy the rest of your Friday. But without any further ado, it is such a pleasure to introduce to you today our three wonderful panelists, Wadzi, Olivia, and Tina, who are going to share with you some of their wisdom about their financial journey and their tips on how you can start to think about retiring early as well. Tina, I might kick things off with you. You are a big member and a very prominent member of the FIRE community, the FIRE community, which is a massive global community around the world. Can you talk to us a little bit about financial independence, retire early, what that means, and your role in that community?
Yeah, sure. Financial independence, retire early. Basically means that you can stop working sooner than the normal traditional retirement age, which is 65 for most people, or 67. Basically means that you save up a nest egg, and then you live off that nest egg, and you can achieve that in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, doesn't really matter. So as far as FIRE is concerned, retirement isn't really an age, it's a number. And by simply saving and investing, you can get there much sooner than somebody who just contributes the standard 10% to their super every year. My role in the community is basically a voice for the different paths to financial independence. Up until like a few years ago, there was basically one FIRE recipe, which is get a high-paying job, live as cheaply as you can, save and invest as much as you can, and then after 10 or 15 years, you're free. That's really an approach that didn't work for me at all. And I've since figured out that there's not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to FIRE. So My work, my blogging, my coaching work is very much focused on the different paths that you can take to get to financial independence, and also the whole lifestyle design and mindset a part of the equation.
And Tina, you're known as the Money Flamingo online, and you're using an avatar today. Do you just want to really quickly describe and let our audience know why that is? And then we're going to go ahead and introduce Olivia and Wadzi as well.
Yeah, sure. So I basically started my blog in 2018 to chronicle our journey to financial independence, and it is very common in the FIRE community to run things anonymously. And I haven't really changed it because it's worked really well for me, because it allows me to just be really honest and transparent and sort of share my journey freely. And I think things usually shift when people sort of stop being anonymous and come out, because you sort of try to portray a certain image, and I don't want that to ever happen to me. So I've just decided to stay anonymous, and it's worked really well.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your story with us today. Hello to you. Thank you so much, Tina. And hello to everyone joining us. We've got people from all around Australia. Shout out to anyone in Queensland, which is where I'm from. Very proud Queenslander. But listen, I really am excited for you all to meet Wadzi as well. Wadzi, you're a share market educator, and you're the founder of a wonderful community called Herconomics. Quickly explain to us a little bit about the wonderful work that you're doing.
Okay, thank you so much, Maggie. I'm so excited to be here, guys. Hello, lovely people. So I am the founder, as Maggie said, and educator at Herconomics. So my mission is to give kind of that foundational basic education to Australian ladies so that they learn about the share market. I think there's so much anxiety and just ignorance, or, a lot of kind of myths around share market, share market in general, but also just share investing. So I want to kind of remove those myths and showcase that it's something that anyone can get into, and to give women that confidence to actually start investing on the share market if they want to.
We can't wait to talk a lot more about that in today's session, about how investing can actually set you up for success so that you can retire early. And Olivia, I know that the FIRE concept, the financial independence, retire early concept, is something that was very interesting to you when you were a lot younger, and something that you've been working towards. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm somewhat on my FIRE journey, and I came across the FIRE movement sort of in my early 20s when I was saving for a house and started learning about financial education. And like Tina said, I started my career as a teacher, and after a few years, I wasn't sure that working for the next 40, 50 years was for me. And coming across the FIRE movement and everything it involves, and all of the great lessons and the idea of learning about investing, it just captivated me. And so ever since then, I've been building my own community online. So I've got over 20,000 people in my community now, and I'm teaching personal finance, budgeting, how to start investing, and lots of the FIRE lessons. So yeah, it's been really good.
And you're not retired yet, but it's certainly your goal to retire earlier than the 55 years old, which is, we know, the average retirement age for women in Australia, although most people assume that they'll retire around 65 years old. So Olivia, I know that that's something that's important to you. Tina, you actually consider yourself already semi-retired. Talk us through, what does that look like? Is it as sexy as it's made out to be? What does a normal day look like for you, Tina?
I actually get asked that a lot. And I always tell people everybody's semi-retired life looks different, just like everybody else's, like working life looks different. Basically, semi-retired to us means that you no longer have to save and invest, and that you have a really big financial cushion to fall back on if you need to. It's basically a form of financial peace. That's how I usually describe it. And for us, that has simply meant that we don't have to work full time anymore, and that we can focus a lot more on things like lifestyle design and creating a life we really want to live, and do work that we really enjoy. In practical terms, for me, that means that I do a mix of things. I work with coaching clients 1 or 2 days a week, helping them recreate some of the things that we have achieved, be it semi-retire, take a mini retirement, transition to work they enjoy more, or even part-time work. I have also recently started a small consulting business in a completely different industry with a former colleague, and I still have a part-time job. So my semi-retired life is far from the lying on the beach drinking cocktails image that a lot of people have in their head. I always say to people that semi-retirement and FIRE in general is much more about the attitude, the general outlook on life and the mindset than the money. And that's certainly proven true for us.
I love the phrase that you used earlier, finding financial peace. I think that's just such a lovely way of putting it. Wadzi, the work that you're doing, let's talk about finding that financial peace, especially given the current climate that we're in, right? Inflation is only going in one direction, and that is up, which is hurting a lot of people. You know, mortgage repayments are going up, the cost of fuel, the cost of living is increasing. So presumably finding that financial peace is actually becoming harder for people. But Wadzi, what are you seeing in your community, and what's your advice to people who want to start out on this journey towards, you know, financial independence, towards this idea of retiring at 40, at 50, maybe at 52, whatever it is, a little bit earlier? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so very good question there, Maggie. So yeah, it's definitely a very challenging time for so many people because they're struggling to make ends meet and to just live day to day. And unfortunately, it might just get a little bit worse in terms of the interest rate rises and so forth. That's probably going to come again in the next year. But I have been talking about my community, a lot more people are very much interested in learning about investing and learning about building their wealth over the long term or even in the short term. So a lot of people who were a little bit hesitant or too scared in the past seem a lot more, like fired up. They want to give it a go. So I think for me, the biggest thing I tell people is to just start. I think a lot of people, and I'm talking from experience, they've got this perfectionist attitude of they have to know everything. They have to be in the big job. I don't know if it was Tina was talking about, the thought that people have to have this well-paying, amazing job for them to start this into kind of planning this type of lifestyle. But just start where you are. Little by little, it builds up over the long term, and you'd be surprised where you'll be in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, if you literally just start step by step. So whether it's investing or whether it's, thinking about the FIRE movement or anything, I think just that first step is really important, and not overthinking it and not thinking that you have to be Einstein to actually begin.
And I just want to do a follow-up question there really quickly, Wadzi. So start early. I completely agree with you on that. If someone's on the call today, they've never thought about financial independence, retiring early, they've never thought about the FIRE concept, starting early, what does that mean? Does that mean putting $20 a week under the mattress? Does that mean putting $20 a week in a savings account? Like, what do you think that means? Or what do you think is the best path that people can take to really make sure that they're getting those accelerated returns?
So obviously, like you can, put money in different, things, right? You can put it into a bank account, you can put it into a term deposit. There's different vehicles that you can put money in. Obviously, different asset classes. So I'm going to talk about the kind of 4 common asset classes you can think of: cash, fixed interest, so things like what they call bonds, or things like shares, and of course, property. So I think for a lot of people, you can put it, depending on your risk level, you can put it in cash if you're not comfortable or anything like that. But over the long term, what we've seen is that, asset classes like, for instance, shares tend to outperform the other asset classes over that longer term, 10, 20, 30 years time. So if you're wanting to get more bang for your buck, normally a lot of people will be looking at growth assets like shares because they just have that kind of opportunity, that growth opportunity for that money. Yeah.
And Amber from the brilliant Ruby Connection group at Westpac has just popped into the chat a great link that some of you might find helpful, an Investing 101 session that we ran, which might be helpful. Olivia, in terms of asset classes, property was one that you got involved with very early as part of that journey towards the opportunity for you to retire early. Talk us through how frugal you had to be able to save to buy that first property.
Yeah, so I bought my first property at 25 and I was saving for a couple of years before that, and I was really frugal. I did put a few things in place. So probably for about the year before, I was sort of only eating at home. I was shopping at Aldi, still love Aldi, so still shopping at Aldi. I was pretty restrictive with the things that I was getting for myself. So I was sort of like, no new clothes, no new treats, no new skincare, because it was for a short period of time. I guess if you do have a big goal like buying a property, doing something like that for 6 to 12 months can be, you know, sustainable, then it's a bit harder for the long term. But yes, I was pretty frugal, and then that's been a really good learning experience for me when I've come to invest in the stock market, because I've got sort of some more frugal habits in place, not as frugal as I was when I was saving for the property, but yeah, it's taught me some really good habits and some really good value-based spending habits. And like Tina and Wadzi were talking about before, it really is about the psychology of investing and, you know, sustainability over the long term. It is value-based spending, so spending on what you value in your life.
And Tina, that idea of values-based spending that Olivia's just mentioned, that's a big part of the philosophy behind the FIRE community, isn't it? That, you know, like, actually, if you're planning for the long term, for that lifestyle that you're looking for, it's then easier for you to make some tougher choices, I suppose, around what you're spending your money on in the shorter term. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, well, it's different for different people, but yes, definitely. I mean, there's a big element of delayed gratification, because if you want to reach FIRE, obviously you have to save money that you'll spend in the future, not now. And a lot of people take it a little too far for my liking, but yes, value-based spending for me personally has always been a very important part of our spending plan, and why we were able to achieve what we've achieved, really. I wouldn't have been able to do it any other way.
We've had some questions come through as well. People saying they think the idea of FIRE, financial independence, retiring early, is great. But then sometimes that's tough, right? Especially we've seen COVID, the impact that that's had on people's investments, on their employment. When there are volatile times, like what we've been living in recently, like what we're seeing in the economy at the moment, Tina, what do you say to people in the community who are like, oh yes, but inflation's going up, is retiring early ever going to be possible? I've just lost my job, what do I do? Like, what's the first step that you always encourage people to take, Tina, on that journey?
Right. Okay. So obviously I hear this a lot, and I know at the moment it's inflation, but 5 years ago, there were other reasons why people thought they couldn't get started. And when I first heard about FIRE, I had my own reasons why I thought, oh yeah, this is a great idea, but how would I ever be able to achieve this? And I think you just have to take a bird's eye view. You're not, you know, inflation won't be like this forever. You are making a plan for the next 50 years, and you basically just have to get started and move forward. So there's two things. You can't achieve this ever if you don't have a gap between your income and your spending. That's basically, you have to establish that. And yes, in times like this gap might be smaller. And then when times are better or you get a pay rise, it will grow. So start there, grow the gap between your spending and your income, and then start about thinking about why you're doing this. Why do you want to achieve this? What is the end goal? It's obviously not to never work again for most people, I'd say. It's like, what are you hoping to do? Spend more time with your family, follow a passion project without financial pressure. Think about that, and then start moving your life towards that goal now while you're still on the path. And if you combine those two things, a savings rate plus following your passions, you'll get there in no time, probably much sooner than you think.
And a big welcome to everyone who is joining us for today's panel on retiring early and the concept of FIRE. Some of you may not know what that means. It's financial independence, retire early. So the concept of saving and investing a lot now so that you have the ability to retire or semi-retire, as Tina on our panel has done, earlier than the anticipated 65 years old, which is the typical expected age of retirement here in Australia. Interestingly, though, we know that women actually retire at the average age of 55 in Australia, although we retire with significantly less than men, 42% less superannuation than men, which is, you know, quite a concerning figure when you 42% less. So the gender pay gap is significant, and then that retirement gap is even much bigger again. Olivia, you've got an amazing podcast, and you speak about these issues all the time. In the current climate, what is your best advice that you give to people who are trying to save money, who are trying to start investing, who are thinking about their first property or this elusive idea of retiring early? What's your top tip that you typically give to people?
Yeah, so something probably really, really simple and things that people have heard all the time, but I would say having a budget in place. And I know it sounds really, really simple, but I think a lot of people, especially when they start earning good money as they move through their 20s and their 30s, they think, oh, well, I'm earning pretty good money, I don't need a budget in place. But one thing that I've learned is if you want to meet, especially multiple goals, so if you're saving for a property, but you also want to do a little bit of investing in the stock market, having a budget is just the way to make your money go further. And it's a great money management tool, whether you're earning 40K, whether you're earning 200K. And probably the other thing that I would say is if you're up for it and you want to start sort of changing your habits and your psychology around money, is considering to have sort of like a no-buy period. So obviously we're going through a bit of a difficult period at the moment. Costs are going up, interest rates are going up. Is there some things in your budget that you could challenge yourself to go without for a month or so? That's been a real game changer for me and my psychology about what I actually need in my life, what I value in my life. So yeah, probably those two things have been huge for me, having a budget in place and considering some no-buy periods. If you want to start, I would start with those two.
Oh, I love that idea, a no-buy period. Olivia, how long do you typically recommend? Are we talking a weekend? Are we talking a month? Are we talking a year?
Yeah, so I have done an episode about this on my podcast. So if you're people do a no-buy year for 12 months and then they have a big long list of things they're never buying themselves. That's quite extreme. If you've never done it before, I'd say pick a month that's a good month for you. And it might be, for this month, I'm not going to buy. Well, for example, I probably had a month where I didn't buy any books, but I love books. And for $30 a pop, I was like, let's have a month where I don't buy any. And it can turn into a habit really quickly. So I did that, and then I went to the library, and now, I've never looked back. So now I probably barely ever buy a book. So I'd say start with a month, pick one thing that you think, oh, I really need to pull back my spending on that, and then go from there.
Well, why don't we issue a challenge to everyone today? We want to challenge you all to take a month of a no-buy period. Let us know in the chat what your no-buy thing will be. Maybe I'll put my hand up and go first. Perhaps I'll do no buying online shopping for the month of October through November. That can be my commitment, putting it out there on the spot. We would love to hear from you. What is your no buy commitment that you're going to make for the next 30 days? We would love to hear from you. And we've got some really interesting things coming through on the polls as well. A lot of people, when they think about that journey that they're on towards financial independence, towards the idea of retiring early, a lot of people on the call today are investing in real estate, which, Olivia, I know you're very passionate about. Wadzi, we've got 40% of people investing in stocks. Almost 10% of people have started a business to get some extra income in, which is awesome. Passive income, another thing that people are thinking about. So really, really interesting options and different things for all of us to think about when we are on that mission to retiring early. We are getting a lot of questions specifically about investing today and how scary the idea of it is. So Wadzi, I'm going to come to you for that in just a second, but I do want to just acknowledge that today's session is really meant to be educational and to help support you during that journey that you're on. Unfortunately, all of the advice we're giving you today is general in nature. If you're looking for specific advice, please make sure that you consult professionals who can really help you with your specific journey that you're on. But in general terms, the idea of investing does not have to be scary, something that I'm really passionate about. And Wadzi, you live and breathe this every day with the community at Herconomics. Yeah, so a lot of people are sort of saying it's like kind of scary. Where do I even start? I want to invest in shares, but it's confusing. Like, what do I do? What's the companies? Yeah. Like, let's just break it down. I want to make this very easy for people to put something in place this weekend. We're going to make it very simple. What's the one thing I could do? If I've got $50, what can I do? Or $200, $2,000, doesn't matter what it is. What can you do?
So what I like to tell people is I know when it comes to investing, there's so much out there, right? There's too much noise. And I think that's what scares people. Too many opinions, a lot of things going on. I want to tell you right now, one thing you can do probably today after this call. So the ASX, which is the Australian Stock Exchange, have got an education center. So this is a free information where they've got like a course on shares, a course on ETFs, exchange traded funds, bonds, and a lot of other things. But I'm going to make you just focus on the shares one. So I think it's important for people to try and kind of just get basic understanding of shares before they start investing in them. So that's why I'm passionate about it, being an educator, because I want to give that basic information. So just go to the ASX Education Center and start going through their free shares course. And then on your question around $50 or $100 or whatever, after you've done that, just that basic course, it shouldn't take you that long. Then, you can start thinking about whether you want to put it into a direct company, or if you're not comfortable trying to figure out which company to invest in after you've done the course, you can also look at really kind of, long-term or kind of set and forget type of things, or more long-term focused things like exchange traded funds, which are very easy to choose because they're kind of a basket of shares or basket of assets, and you don't have to choose the individual companies or the individual assets in there. And there's actually tools that allow you to do that with your kind of your cents, your $5, like, raise, like micro investing tools that are out there now, where you can actually start investing with as little as $5, even less for some of those. So you don't have to start with a lot of money, but you can start with exchange traded funds with as little as $5 using tools such as Raise or some other tools as well. So just get that basic understanding on the ASX Education Center, and then just start small with micro investing tools, even just as a way to get used to the environment of investing.
Yeah, I love that advice, Wadzi. It's so important, isn't it? And it's just about getting started, even if it's $5.
Because I don't want to overwhelm people with too much information. I think if you just do those things, that's like a basic start. And trust me, with time, you'll start getting into a lot more complex things, obviously, as you get more confident and start, listening to podcasts or, or maybe even coming to my educational webinars at Herconomics, which I do, which are free webinars. But before you even start doing that, don't overwhelm yourself. Just do that, basic course at the ASX, and then just start small with, little tools like the Raise tool.
That's such good advice. And we're going to send you a roundup with some links. You can check out Wadzi's free webinar as well. We're going to send that through to you. But also, Olivia's got a wonderful podcast speaking about this. Tina's blog is excellent as well, with a heap of resources. Ruby Connection, their website has a heap of resources too, which are in the chat, and we're going to send those to you in an email afterwards. And we've had some amazing, Olivia, your challenge to take a month of no buy is really getting a lot of people excited. People like also good suggestions, like if you love books like I do, like Olivia does, like go to the library, like it's kind of exciting too. Like a lot of local libraries are very beautiful buildings, but we've got a lot of people who are doing no takeaway, no lipstick, no online shopping, no clothes, no books. So that's really cool. So we would really encourage you to keep that commitment. Take a selfie if you want, take a photo of you on this session today and tag Ruby Connection Westpac and PepTalkHer, and we will hold you accountable. We'll repost it and make sure that you feel supported in your no-buy journey, and indeed in your journey towards retiring early. A lot of people are very nervous right now. Tina and Olivia, you've been on this sort of journey towards retiring early for a lot longer than some of us on the call today. Have you ever had any regrets along the way? Tina, anything you've missed out on, or, do you ever regret starting on your journey towards financial independence, retiring early?
I guess my biggest regret is not starting early enough. I actually learned about FIRE in 2012, but as I mentioned before, there were like a myriad of reasons why I thought this was not for me and not something I can achieve. And then we got serious about it in 2016, but that's basically 4 years lost, if you want to call it like that. And that's a big reason why I started the blog, to show people that there are more approachable strategies and that FIRE is not all or nothing. So I guess starting early is the key.
And they say that with any investing, right? Like the key to investing success is to start early, start early and to invest often. Olivia, any regrets or things you wish you'd done differently along your journey?
No regrets from me. I would have loved to have found out earlier, obviously. It would have been great if I found out at 16 when I had my first part-time job, that I should have started pursuing it then. But as soon as I found out, I did start. I guess probably my own regrets are just my own thoughts about the FIRE movement, in terms of maybe thinking it was a bit of a solution to the job that I didn't want to be in, or my burnout. And I guess I would say to anyone that maybe feels like that, there's things that we can do now to make our life better. And if you want to pursue FIRE, I would absolutely encourage you to learn more about it and think about going on the journey. But make sure that you're doing things now in your life that you want to do more of when you do get semi-retired and you do have that financial support. So if it's a hobby, if it's a passion project, if it's start a business, do it now, don't wait. It's definitely about, enjoying your life as you go. And then when you reach FIRE, awesome.
That's such good advice, Olivia, isn't it? Retiring early is not going to solve all of the challenges that you may have in your life, in your relationships, in your job right now. But I think that's really good advice to start early and to think about what can you do right now. And one thing that I'm really passionate about is I want you all to think about what can you do with your salary right now. Yes, it's a tough time in the economy, but if you're excellent at your job and if you're a high performer, there are ways that you can increase your salary, right? Where you can get paid more. And to Tina's point, you can start to increase that gap between what you earn and what you spend. And then you've got more of the gap that you can invest so that you can consider retiring early. So there's a link in the chat as well if you want some support from PepTalkHer and how you can get a pay raise a lot quicker. We're running a free live coaching program next week, and you'd all obviously be very, very welcome because I want to support you all to get paid a lot more and to get promoted quicker so that you can move towards that journey. Wadzi, I'm going to leave the final word to you. For anyone starting out on their journey, what would you love to see them do? They're going to go to your website, they're going to check out your webinar, they're going to have a look at the ASX information that you gave us around that share market game. I think that's a really great piece of advice. What's the other one thing that people can think about doing this weekend to really make an impact?
I think, when it comes, I think the other lovely ladies just mentioned the most important thing. People are just too scared to start at all, to just make that kind of step. So I don't care, what you hear out there. You can start investing immediately. You can start today, pretty much today. So you don't even have to overthink it. So don't overthink it. It's all about the mindset. So what I want you to do is to try and shift your mindset around what's possible for you. I want you to shift your mindset around whether the share market is for you, whether FIRE is for you, right? I think psychology is the foundation of everything. So I think you need to kind of look at what's holding me back, what myths do I have around what's possible for me? And the minute you're able to work through that, you'll be able to start making those steps, whether it's investing in shares or, the FIRE movement in general. I think it's just around mindset and around your psychology of what's actually possible. So try to kind of have a look and look deep inside yourself about what type of thinking you have and try to shift that.
That is such good advice. And it's funny, isn't it, how important mindset is. A lot of the time we sort of discount it and we think, oh no, I need to read more books. I need to go to more websites, but actually
I think that's the foundation. Yeah,
it really is. It really is. And we hope that you have managed to improve your mindset during today's session. It is possible. It is possible for you. We've got Tina on the call today, who is semi-retired. We've got Olivia, who's on the journey and working towards that already. I hope that today has really sparked some interest in you to think about how you can start to invest and accumulate wealth and investments that can work for you so that you can have more choice in your life and in your career and at the point at which you choose to retire. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much to Tina, Olivia and Wadzi. Both Olivia and Tina have wonderful podcasts, which we've linked to in the chat, and we'll send you that in an email as well. Do check out all of their blogs as well. Wadzi's brilliant webinar. We're going to send that to you in the follow-up email as well. Don't forget to tag Westpac's Ruby Connection on Instagram and PepTalkHer with a selfie of you telling us what your no-buy commitment is for the next 30 days. And we're excited to see the results of that for you all as well. Do stay in touch. And this time next month, we're going to be holding our last Lunch and Learn for 2022. So keep an eye out on your inbox for your invitation to that as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Wadzi. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Tina. And thank you to Westpac's Ruby Connection for hosting. Yeah, my name's Meggie Palmer. Thank you everyone. We could have done 2 hours on this topic. It's so fascinating.
Let's do another one.
Yeah, maybe we will. And we might do another one on passive income, because we've had a lot of questions about what are passive income sources, what are great passive income sources. So watch this space. We're going to have a conversation and think about what we can do to support those questions around that as well. My name is Meggie Palmer. I'm the founder of PepTalkHer. Please keep in touch. Don't be a stranger. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, all of the things. Say hi and let me know what you learnt from today's Ruby Connection session, proudly brought to you by Westpac. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you this time next month. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks,
Bye.
lovelies. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.